Allen. I'm a partner in our advisory cyber privacy and forensics practice. I help co-lead our legal business solutions practice as well in the US. And another hat I wear is I am an elected member of our US Board of Partners and Principals. Thanks for having us today.
Jocelyn, Aqua. I am also a partner at PwC in cyber forensics and privacy. I help companies build out their privacy programs in that world. I also happen to be the privacy and ethics leader for our own products and technology organization, where I am building out our own privacy program at that first line so that we can deliver products that are privacy thoughtful and privacy forward.
Definitely not new. If we think about the origins of this records management, right? That goes back to the beginning of time, although people think about it very much traditionally paper-based. They used to be called records and information management programs. Today, that's evolved to something called information governance, with the mindset that all corporate information should be considered as corporate assets, whether that be physical paper, whether that be electronic data, whether that be structured or unstructured. So things in databases or data warehouses, or things like emails and PowerPoints and other kind of loose user documents. And all of that should be considered part of the sort of information governance landscape. And so certainly we can all appreciate the ever increasing volumes, the ever increasing types of technology and formats, the ever increasing number of places and third parties for which this data can be stored as well. And so that sort of convergence of all of that complexity on top of changing risks, such as cyber risks, such as privacy regulations that continue to change and evolve, and just business risks, as businesses, especially now in the wake of the pandemic, are getting into new businesses. How do you think about that sort of integrated lens in terms of all of your information as a corporation?
Come from it from a different vein, where I have been helping companies implement programs within their privacy apparatus to meet requirements of either European law, other national laws, CCPA in California. And while we can help create the policies and the program, it really only works with alignment and support from the teams that are implementing data governance, information governance. It only goes so far to be able to say what needs to happen, but you have to be able to effectuate it across a company and know where your data is, how you're using it, where it's stored, how you can age it off. It's really become the need to have a global framework in place. In the past, companies have been a little reactive. What's happening and what we're seeing, especially in the United States now, is in California, the law, we have 2 years to implement CPRA now. We have Virginia that just came into play, and a number of other states where it looks like there could be another law happening. And as that keeps happening, if you do not have a really strong, comprehensive program, every single time a new law comes into place, you have to start from scratch. So we are really working with a lot of companies, and I'm working internally to think about these areas of how can we build a program that's fundamentally the same everywhere, because underpinning it all are the same needs of security and transparency and access and risk mitigation, and thinking about these areas at that design phase through the data lifecycle. And really, the differences and nuances between all of the laws are really not that significant that you can't start from the same framework.
I'll just add to what Jocelyn was talking about, particularly from that life cycle lens. It's absolutely important to think about how you are creating or receiving information, all the uses, the collaboration, transferring the data in between, and what is that final disposition, whether you need to retain it for indefinitely or a long period of time or dispose of it. And really thinking about that and having, again, a program in place such that every time a new business or new acquisition, a new data privacy law comes out, it's not this whack-a-mole of assembling task forces. It's a pivot to be able to address it because you've got that program. And I can't emphasize that enough. While there's various projects that need to be executed so that folks really feel like they've got a robust program in place that really operationalizes all of this, that program piece at the overarching level really needs to be there to address it globally, US, again, whatever kind of change happens here that relates to how you create, use, and leverage data.
A few things that I'm seeing, one of which is the ability to be more transparent about how data is being used, stored, handled, and especially in the context of ESG. We have lots of conversations with companies now regarding privacy and reporting, and how we can be more transparent, granular information to be shared with shareholders and in the public vein. And that's become a very important part of, I think, what consumers want to see too, is how things are happening and what's happening. And so that's a very difficult conversation of how do you translate what you're doing into a way that your shareholders, your board, your public can see how you're handling data. I would say one other area that is important to me is with the huge influx of AI, how are you being able to take data and really be responsible with your emerging tech portfolio, shelf kind of technology too, and how is that being handled? So that life cycle and the information governance also has to think about your vendors and the data that you purchase, how you're enriching your data, since data has become such an asset to most companies, regardless of what they do. How are you really taking that to that next level and monetizing it and enriching your information in a really responsible way? And that juggling is so important for companies now, and that's where it is really a cross sector where everybody has to participate in the conversations.
I'll add to that what Jocelyn described as the juggling, I like to sort of call as a teeter-totter oftentimes of companies trying to find what is your right balance, right, of monetizing and leveraging data, but also managing all the different risks, right? And for every company, that sort of right balance, we call that sort of data trust even, is something that can be different. And thinking about that. Additionally, building off enterprise risk management, which relates to some of the themes that Jocelyn was talking about, I think how folks think about enterprise risk management and the integrated data risks within that, right? Traditionally, companies, I think, sometimes bifurcated cyber risk from breach, separate from privacy risk, separate from other risks. And now they're recognizing these are absolutely intertwined in terms of how we use and treat data, how our customers see that, our shareholders, our employees, and really recognizing that a lot of those themes all rest with, what is our most critical sensitive data, our IP, our PII, whatnot. Where is it, right? Third parties internally, what repository, what's the source of truth, and how are we controlling it? And those three fundamental questions are asked by a number of different folks in the organization, but unfortunately, those are oftentimes difficult for them to answer. And so I would say one of the trends is really getting underneath that and thinking about and frankly staying up to date with what the business is doing to be able to always answer comfortably those three questions.